distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Director General of World Heritage Center, UNESCO, my sister, Zainab Hawa Bangura, Director General of the United Nations Office in Nairobi, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As I listen to the presentations that have been made here, it reminded me of my first year at the university when we attended a course at the Nairobi National Museum. Mary, my classmate, who is currently the Director General of the National Museums of Kenya, was with me. She's right there. And yes. And that is why it's my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to Kenya, the cradle of humankind. It is not by chance or accident, ladies and gentlemen, that Kenya is globally recognized as the home of human origins, a distinction rooted in remarkable fossil discoveries of early humans found right here in Kenya. In December last year, we marked 40 years since the discovery of the Turkana boy, the most complete early human ancestor ever recovered, 1.6 million years old. This fossil, housed at the National Museums of Kenya just a few kilometers from this United Nations complex, underscores Kenya's status as a global center of human history. Kenya also stands proud as the custodian of 8 sites inscribed on the prestigious UNESCO World Heritage Site list. I am especially pleased to note that the Gedi National Monument became the latest addition following its inscription last year. Alongside Gedi, we have the sacred Kenya and Kaya Mijikenda Forest, Lamu Old Town, Fort Jesus, Thimlich Ohinga Archaeological Site, the Kenya Lake System in the Great Rift Valley, Lake Turkana National Park, and the Mount Kenya National Park and Natural Forest. Together, these extraordinary sites embody Kenya's invaluable contribution to humanity's shared heritage. This conference marks the culmination of a journey that began in 1972 with the adoption of the Convention concerning the protection of the world cultural and natural heritage. Our presence here reaffirms our shared commitment to identify, protecting, conserving, and passing on our cultural and natural heritage to future generations. This distinguished gathering has drawn global attention, bringing together heritage experts, practitioners, diplomats, policymakers, scholars, and community leaders to exchange research, experiences, and insights. I'm informed that the chair of the Kaya Council of Elders is in our midst. It has served as a dynamic platform for deep reflection in the many dimensions of heritage and authenticity and their implications for implementation and future of global normative frameworks such as the World Heritage Convention, particularly within the African context. Ladies and gentlemen, the conceptual, intellectual, and practical foundation on this conference has been shaped by key instruments of the World's Heritage Convention, including the Venice Charter in 1964, the 1976 Nairobi Recommendations on Historic Areas, the NARA Document on Authenticity that happened in 1994, and the NARA Plus 20 recommendations. This conference also is a successful culmination of historic meetings on the African continent that have advanced the development of African culture and natural heritage and informed the evolving interpretation of one very important thing: authenticity. This includes the experts meeting on African cultural landscape in Tiwi in Kenya in 1997. The Great Zimbabwe Experts Meeting on Authenticity and Integrity in an African Context in the year 2000. The 2003 ICOMOS General Assembly and Symposium. Others include the Charter for African Cultural Renaissance, adopted in Sudan in 2006, and the Africa Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa We Want, launched in Addis Ababa in 2015. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa's cultural and heritage and natural heritage and its listed properties under the World Heritage Convention are truly breathtaking and extraordinary. They range from Kenya's historic town and archaeological site of Gedi to Angola's Mbanza Gongo, the royal court of Tiabele in Burkina Faso, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela in Ethiopia. Other notable sites include the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa, the island of Gorée in Senegal, the Medina Otuan in Morocco, and the Mosi Tunya Victoria Falls of Zambia and Zimbabwe border. Yet, current heritage management approaches often fail to align with African cultural contexts, revealing a disconnect between international frameworks and local realities. Although Africa is home to 147 World Heritage elements representing just 12% of the global total, it also has the highest number of sites listed as World Heritage in danger. These disparities expose deep-rooted systemic and conceptual inequities shaped by long-standing imbalances in how heritage is defined, whose stories are told, and which cultural values are deemed globally significant. At the heart of this challenge is the interpretation and application of the concepts of authenticity and integrity, core criteria for World Heritage inscription. Historically, developed in academic traditions outside Africa, these concepts, as codified in documents such as the 1964 Venice Charter and the 1994 Nara document, tend to prioritize material continuity and original form. Ladies and gentlemen, therein lies the problem. The assumptions often fail to reflect Africa's dynamic, spiritually infused, and living cultural landscapes. I say it is the reason why we have a small fraction of heritage sites in our continent. Excellencies, the time has come to revisit and reimagine these concepts, to strengthen their meaning and to deepen and diversify them. We must ground them in Africa's philosophical, spiritual, and cultural realities. These perspectives are consistent with the principles of the Nara document on authenticity, which affirms that judgments of authenticity must reflect cultural context. As emphasized through the 2025 Nairobi conference, African heritage is plural, is dynamic, and community-centered. In fact, its authenticity is derived from both the tangible and intangible, the movable and immovable, within places of cultural continuity and with community custodianship at its heart. Ladies and gentlemen, this call, this conversation did not begin today. But today, we have achieved what those who came before us envisioned. We must remain dedicated and focused to pursue this path for the continent, for our heritage, for our culture, and for our contribution to the implementation of the World Heritage Convention that we are a party. Today, we launch the conference outcome document, and I congratulate each and every one of you for your dedication, your scholarship, and your visionary contribution. The outcome document reflects the depth of African perspectives and sets a forward-looking agenda for enriching the global understanding of authenticity of heritage. You will discover that we have living sites that, in my opinion, would form part of World Heritage. For example, in Hell's Gate, a few kilometers from here, maybe 70 kilometers from here, we have something that is inscribed as a baboon parliament, where every so often baboons come together around a site and they look like they're having a conversation. I don't know where we would place that or maybe I'll give you another example. Down at the coast of Kenya, we have a site where lions swim. It's not very natural, it's not very often. So when we say that these are living sites that are not necessarily monuments, and we think they should qualify to be heritage sites, that is why this conference is important, that we expand the meaning, we diversify authenticity to the level that captures the spiritual aspects of our continent. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this landmark 4-day international conference on cultural heritage and authenticity in Africa to a close, I extend my very sincere gratitude to the governments of Japan and France, as well as the Africa World Heritage Fund, for their generous support. I'm honored to officially receive the Nairobi Outcome Document on Heritage Authenticity. May it guide us towards a more just, a more inclusive, and a more representative global heritage future. I thank you.